Welcome, spoilers ahead. Watch out and take care. Huge shout out and special thanks to the channel members. The manga starts by taking us to a frozen wasteland, explaining how a white monster lives there, and it's a white serpent that devours glaciers. There's also a gray bear that causes earthquakes and a vile rat that pollutes the seas. But an emperor who returned alive from the white wasteland once said, "The most dangerous thing there aren't the beast at all. We're taken deeper." The white wasteland. We see a barbarian woman stomping on a bug, creating a giant explosion. Barbarian man grips onto another bug and rips it apart with his bare hands. As another man is slowly walking forward, the bugs are terrified of just his presence. And it's understandable why, as we see him effortlessly cut them into pieces. He looks at the other guy who ripped the bug apart and says only a barbarian would proudly wear their ignorance like that. He asks how much longer he needs to hang around these ignorant brutes. The woman asked what he means by ignorant and if it's something they can eat. He sighs, saying never mind, as they start eating the bugs they just killed. The guy says he told them specifically not to eat that because it would kill them. They realize they made a mistake, and he starts glaring at them. He says it's been less than a week, and they already ate it all. The woman goes to explain it and says that it was the most noble challenge. The guy asks why she's so proud of it. Before Baldy understands that what they ate was actually poisonous, and he begins foaming out of the mouth. We learn that Baldy's name is Greta, and the girl is surprised after seeing him fall over, and she tells him to get a hold of himself. Smart one watches, and as soon as she starts slapping the hell out of Greta to wake him up, he turns away and looks into the snow, saying this is not what he wants at all. In a world of fantasy and a world of wonder and magic, he quit his job, set off on a journey. He climbed the tallest mountain on Earth and reached the very center of the planet. He even made it to the southernmost point of the globe, but of course, nothing happened. Reality was the furthest thing from fantasy. Every night he prayed that when he woke up, he would be in the middle of a dream, and one day, that prayer came true. It jumps to elsewhere as we see a carriage being taken through the snow, and one of the dudes is complaining, and his boss tells him to wrap up tighter unless he wants to freeze to death. The mercenaries say that even if the rewards are great, this is plain foolish, since he says that crossing the white wasteland means that he has to be insane. His captain tells him to be quiet since they all agreed to this. They say they did, but they didn't think it would be like this. Inside of the wagon, we see a butler clicking his tongue. He then clears his throat, asking the lady inside the carriage. She's fine. She smiles, saying that she is. Her name is Milena of the Akasha family. Outside, the mercenaries are complaining about how they're going to freeze to death. The butler says this is rude of them, but Milena says that he shouldn't be too harsh since they are the ones who willingly escort them through this wasteland, and that they should bring them inside as they look like they're going to freeze to death as the snow continues to pour. The butler says no, and that she already knows what dwells in these wastelands. She says that she knows of the monsters and explains that a long time ago, an emperor who wanted to claim the entire world set his sights on conquering this white wasteland. He led countless warriors and soldiers and even entered the wasteland himself. And years later, just as the empire had collapsed and faded from memory, the emperor had returned. He had lost all his men, returning alone and broken. He looked at Cades and spoke like someone who had lost his mind. He said there were monsters in the wasteland, but the most dangerous thing wasn't the monsters. Rather, it was all of the barbarians, as this is where they live freely. The butler says that it's probably just a legend. Milena says the emperor's words held weight, and many of the monsters he described were later confirmed to exist. The butler laughs, saying there's never been a single sight of a barbarian. Milena says that is true, as there are countless tales being told about the barbarians, but not a single sighting. The captain tells everybody to stop as there's something out there. One of the other mercenaries asks what it is, and when he opens his eyes, all they see is a shadow because they can't see clearly. The captain then gets a better look at what it is, saying that he's got good news and bad news. His men tell him spit it out, and he says the good news is that it's small. The bad news is that it's coming directly towards them. Everybody looks to be on edge as the captain reaches for his sword in a panic. They realize that it's actually a human. They get a better look at his white hair and the fact that he's barely wearing clothing. They now understand what they're facing, and they all freeze up at the sight of a barbarian. The man glances toward them, and he says that he came out for a stroll because he was sick of looking at other barbarians, and yet he found outsiders in the snow. And that sure is lucky. The man smiles, saying that he did not expect to run into anyone out here. We finally learn that he is an Ashen barbarian named Kettle. He says it's nice to meet them, He looks around and asks if they're merchants. They say they are, and he says that he takes them to their hired guards. Captain says that's right, and Kettle says that he suggests they turn back, though he doubts they will. The captain freezes up, and Kettle realizes that someone must be in the carriage. Milena is nervously sitting inside the carriage, and the captain is still scared, and Kettle offers his services to them. They're all confused, and he asks if he was too unclear, and that he's offering to help them cross the wasteland. Captain says that a barbarian from the legends is asking to join them, and if this is really all he wants, asking if he's really not hostile. Kettle says if he were, they'd already be dead. Realizing that he's right, the captain turns and knocks on the carriage, asking if she heard that. Milena says that she did, and the butler asks what's going on. The captain says that the barbarian wants to be a mercenary, asking what she wants to do about it. Milena thinks about it, asking if they fought him if they could win. The captain says he personally would not recommend it as he can tell the dude is a beast. Milena then hesitates but says that they can do it, and that they will accept his offer. Captain says okay, and he turns back telling Kettle that she has agreed. Kettle smiles saying that is some great news. They're still scared of him, and he starts slowly approaching them. The captain asks what he wants and Kettle tells him to relax, as they're just the hired help and he needs to speak to the one in charge. Face to face. The captain says that if he tries anything, and Kettle says he already knows that he'll regret it, and he starts walking past him. One of the mercenaries asks if it's really okay to let them meet. Captain says that the employer already gave her consent, but they're still very uneasy about it, saying that they should try stopping him. The captain asks how the hell they plan to do that, and they should not be ridiculous, even though. Butler, freaking out, asking what she has done, and Milena tells him to calm down. Kettle then knocks on the carriage asking if he can enter. Poor Butler is having a heart attack, and Milena audibly gulps before saying, "Come in." Kettle begins smiling. Now inside the carriage, the butler is cramped while Kettle looks comfortable. He says that he needs the butler to calm down because he has no intention of harming him. The butler is freaking out, saying that he shouldn't to him, and Milena is just in awe that a barbarian from legend is standing before her. She says that it's a pleasure to meet him. Kettle says the pleasure is his, and that it's surprisingly warm. Here, even for an indoor space, it must be difficult to maintain this level of warmth with all the snow outside. She says that it's taken care of with magic. Kettle says that he's really excited to see magic, especially when it comes to this world. She just wonders what that means. And he says, as they may know, this place is dangerous. The chances of passing through here safely with those mercenaries are slim to none, and that's why he will protect their lives. He has one condition that they must follow. They look a bit worried, and Milena asks what it is that he desires. He says that he wants knowledge of the world outside of these snowfields, and that the information they possess is all that he wants. She finds that a bit of a surprise, and Kettle says, surely it's not a bad deal for her. She doesn't even know if she has a choice in the matter or not, and says that she understands. Kettle says that's good, asking for her name, and she introduces herself, giving her full government ID. Kettle introduces himself, saying that he looks forward to working with her. He has always yearned for a fantasy world, and when he opened his eyes one day, he found himself as a barbarian in a snowfield. There was no time to figure out why. All that existed here was terrible freezing cold and endlessly strong monsters. To survive, he led the tribe in the snowfield, hunting and desperately holding on. He doesn't even know how much time has passed. For countless years, he has strived relentlessly to escape this snowfield. However, every single time he'd get to the border, he'd run into a magical barrier, and his quest is incomplete, and he cannot leave the snowfield until it's completed. He was unable to leave due to this, and just when he was about to give up on everything, although he has no idea why they would willingly come to such a god-forsaken place. People would occasionally visit from outside. That's when he realized the world outside the snowfield was the world of magic and fantasy. He had so longed for his own fantasy world. From that point on, he began to move beyond mere survival and act in earnest. He followed his quest, and we see him on quest to kill a giant lizard. He trampled monsters and completed every quest given to him, in order to leave with a single-minded determination to get out, as long as he is stuck in this damn snowfield. The information he can get from outsiders is incredibly precious, but most of the humans he's met so far have either panicked and drawn their blades or have gone half mad, such as the Emperor. And this time, it seems like he can have a proper conversation, and he wonders how long has it been since he's had someone he can talk to like this, as he's been surrounded by nothing but ignorant barbarians. He listens to the rattling of the carriages, saying that it seems like she's transporting weapons. She's surprised, asking how he knew. He says he can hear the sharp clang of steel from the wagons, and there's no way he wouldn't be able to tell. He then asks if there's a war going on outside. She says there is. The Empire and the Kingdom are currently at war. Kettle says that the outside world isn't peaceful. She says it's not. Massive Empire is pushing forward with overwhelming numbers and supplies. But the Kingdom is not easily pushed back. That's because the Swords Master and the hero are protecting the borders. Kettle's surprised there's both a hero and a Swords Master asking which powers they wield. He then asks if he's perhaps unfamiliar with mysteries. Kettle says he's never once left the snowfields. She says that she doesn't actually know the details herself. But there exists a power in the world known as mystery. Only a very small number. People can sense or use it, and they are granted one of the 5 ranks of strength. First, the third rate. This refers to those who can sense the power. The second rate is people who can use the power. First are individuals who can manifest the power. Mystery is mana or aura. Typically, knights, mages, and spirit summoners belong to this. Beyond that, the ranks become meaningless as they are individuals who have surpassed common comprehension. Transcendent are beings who can dominate and freely wield mystery, capable of splitting heaven and earth. Swords Master belongs to this rank. The hero is in a league of his own. He is a monster who has gone beyond the domination of mystery to influence the world itself. The hero in and of itself is a legendary existence. In fact, the very act of having one's strength quantified and named is proof of that strength. Even a third rate is considered a powerful individual in a small domain. Kettle says he wants to meet them. She asks him to repeat. She just looks surprised by this. Kettle says he can't even remember how long he's been trapped here and he is just desperate to survive. All he knows is that this is a snowfield in the middle of a fantasy world and he can't escape. And that he's always yearned to explore a fantasy world and he really wants to get out of here. He smiles, saying that it's not a want but a must. Mayana asks if he's a barbarian. He says it wouldn't be wrong to say that's the case, and judging by their reactions, they seem to be aware of the barbarian's existence. She says that's because of legend. Kettle is surprised asking about it, and she just finds it curious that he didn't know, even though he said that he's never gone out. He then tells him about the Emperor, and Kettle recalls it, saying that he thought he was just a madman. She asks what he means, and he says it was nothing, but her legends are probably correct, as he's met people like that before. He then comments the number of wagons, saying that it seems she's transporting a rather large quantity of weapons, asking why they are passing through the snowfield. She's surprised and then tells him that they're in a bad spot and that she needs a lot of money. He asks why, and she tells him that her family has been in commerce for generations. They accumulated a great deal of wealth, but due to the sabotage of those who were jealous, they had a crazy amount of debt. This journey is to prevent her family's downfall. Kettle says in that case, she must be planning to sell weapons to the kingdom that is the war of the Empire. He asks how he picked that up so fast, and he says that she already said that the Empire is pushing forward with overwhelming numbers. If that's the case, they wouldn't have any problem with weapons supply. And if not the Empire, then it must. The kingdom in need of weapons. He doesn't know the values of the outside world, but an amount like this must be worth quite a bit. Worth risking their lives to cross the snowfield as well. And seeing as how she's trying to cross it, there must be no other way to get to the kingdom. Asking if their Trito's border happens to touch the Empire's. He's just surprised that he picked all this up so fast, like he's a fantasy Sherlock Holmes, but tells him that's correct. And she heard that the barbarian of the legends was an ignorant savage, and she asks him who he is, and if he is really barbarian. The carriage then comes to a halt, which startles her, and even the butler asks what's going on. We hear a nasty screech outside. Kettle says it seems like they have some uninvited guest. Inside of the carriage, we see a giant monster that looks like it's melting. The captain is panicked, and so is Melina, because it's called a black slime. Kettle asks if that's what it's called. She says yes, it's a monster documented in the records. He asks what records she's talking about, and she says that many powerful warriors have attempted to conquer the white snowfield, and few of them return alive. Those who did wrote down what they saw in books, and among those monsters, black slime is the most frequently recorded. Asking Kettle if he also knows about them, he says, of course, they're chewy and actually pretty good, so he eats them as snacks. She looks disgusted, asking if he really eats them. He asks if she wants to try one, saying that she should go catch it. She says, hell no. And the entire carriage starts rattling because outside the monster is screeching, going straight towards them. The captain is panicked, and Melina asks Kettle to do something. He just sits there, and she asks him what he's doing. He says that he made a contract with her. He said he would protect their lives. So he has no intention of moving unless there's real danger. She asks what he means, and he says that they can handle that themselves. The black slime starts going towards them, and the captain tells his men to put up a shield. They do so as we see him getting pushed back into the snow. He then gets yeeted. The other mercenary goes and screaming with his axe ready for an attack. But he as well gets sent flying backwards into one of the carriages. He drops his axe, asking what the hell is going on. Then it goes for the captain, and he warns them all that it only moves in straight lines, so they should scatter and coordinate. The other mercenaries say yes as they ready themselves, and one of them starts going for an attack on its side. He swings and the black slime turns towards him. As he cuts through its face, it begins to scream, shooting out purple goo. He then raises his spear and throws it forward, and it pierces straight through the head of the black slime. Now that they see their attacks are working, the captain gains confidence, telling them all to keep attacking. And he runs through with his sword imbued with a green aura and slices through it. He says simple attacks won't work, and they need to aim for the core hidden inside, as they all work together to deal with it. The captain raises his sword and pierces down with a final blow, shattering the core. Black slime is now defeated. The mercenaries, surprised, they have one start chanting, saying they finally did it. Melina as well is just excited, saying that they actually did it. Kettle just looks disappointed. They continue their trek and had to stop because of a giant wolf. The mercenaries start attacking, aiming for its throat in unison. They're actually managing to hold their own as we see them cut through its neck, causing it to bleed out. Mercenaries then say that the snowfield is not as rumored after all, and that the rumors are just exaggerated. The captain warns them not to let their guards down, as they are not even halfway through yet. One of the mercenaries then wonders that Barbarian is even strong after all, as it's just a legend of the Emperor. Just like this wasteland, he might just be the bottom of the food chain in the snowfield, and he's starting to think he's just leeching off of them. At the very least, they should test his skills. There's then a knock on the carriage, and Melina wonders what it is. Kettle stares out, and one of the mercenaries speaks up, saying that he needs to tell Melina something. It turns out that they just want her permission. As mercenaries, they have a contract with her, so it's only natural they need to guarantee her safety. She says that she's grateful that they accepted the job, as everybody else ran away after hearing. The mercenaries say that there is one thing can't accept. The Barbarian hasn't fought even once. She tries to explain, and he asks if he's allowed to test whether Kettle truly deserves special treatment. She wonders what kind of test he's talking about and looks towards the captain anxiously. He says that he tried to stop them, but they wouldn't listen. Kettle smiles, asking if they really want to test his skills, saying he doesn't mind. But it's not possible right now. They ask what he means, and he tells them that they have guests ahead of them. They ask what nonsense he's talking about, and we hear a monster saying that the frail mortals outside have arrived, and that he's going to enjoy this rare delicacy today. Mercenaries all look scared and turn up, seeing a giant serpent asking the humans to bark for him, and struggle all day like that will be seasoning for it. Freaky as snake, average Valorant player. Melina starts screaming as she covers her ears. Mercenaries as well brace themselves because the winds are harsh and cold. Kettle says this is enough. These people are his guest, and he tells the snake to go back. The snake asks why he's here and if he's forgotten the laws of the snowfields. If he strays far from his tribe's territory, Kettle cuts it off, saying that's none of his concern. The snake tells him not to be ridiculous as it starts to form a giant blizzard tornado, warning him that he is the snake. Kettle says he needs to be taught a lesson. And then he rears back his fist and punches the snake straight in its gut. The shock wave it produces is hella powerful as it starts sending snow flying. Even the snake looks extremely pained. There's a giant blue explosion that ensues, and the mercenaries are doing their best not to fall over due to the pressure. A follow-up explosion, and now Mina and the butler are at risk of being swept up into it. The snake is slumped on the ground, and Kettle says that it's the type that only listens after a beating. Elena calls out to him, and Kettle says that he's going to finish cleaning up here, and it won't take too long. Kettle then stomps the floor and starts running forward full speed. I guess the snake isn't dead, as he rears back his fist and we see another giant explosion. Elena looks absolutely impressed, and sometime later the mercenaries are saying that they have committed a sin worthy of death, begging for their lives to be spared. Kettle says it's only natural not to trust a stranger so easily, and he understands. They continue their trek, and outside the butler is low-key freezing to death. Kettle looks at him and tells Melina there is something he is curious about. He asks what it is, and he says, judging by her attire and her speech, she doesn't belong to a mere agent for her family. So why is she personally embarking on such a life-threatening journey? She says that he is very sharp, and that she is the first daughter of Lady Belyaka, the concubine of Lord Kesakasha. Kettle asks if that means her mother is the second wife. She says yes. She came through a political marriage only to be used and abandoned. She is a pitiful mother unable to secure any real power, that she and her mother are family in name only. In reality, they are nothing to the Akashas and are treated like servants. He realizes that she has been oversharing due to Kettle's silence, and tells him that she volunteered for this trade mission. She is surprised and says that even though it is a life-threatening journey, because someone has to set an example, she decided to do it. Kettle says she is very intelligent, she has great ambition, but that greed is good. She is just surprised and goes to say something, and we hear people outside screaming out of excitement. Both turn, and we see her eyes light up. The captain says they have arrived as they see grass, meaning they have made it through the snow fields. They thank Kettle, and he asks how they will manage the return trip. She says that by then she would simply pass through the Empire. He says that makes sense, as she will have sold the weapons and she will be empty-handed, so crossing the borders won't be difficult. She then calls out to him, saying that before he said that she was intelligent. Ambitious, asking what exactly he meant. He says exactly what it sounds like. While she is intelligent, at the same time she is very ambitious. Her family was once highly renowned, but it is now teetering on the brink due to a lack of funds. So even though she is the daughter of a concubine, she personally makes a move to carve out a path for survival while her family faces ruin. It is very obvious who her subjects will trust and follow. Her goal is to seize control of her family, asking if he is wrong with his assumption. Kettle says that was definitely a perfect answer, and she says that he's not wrong at all. Kettle says that he was right, and that the child of a concubine, taking on a dangerous challenge to inherit the family name, is a tale as old as time. She thinks of him as super smart, and not like those fools who think they're clever. And the power he used to defeat the white snake without a scratch, if she were to become his, it would be different. And she asks if he's ever considered leaving Fields, and if he would like to join her. He says he'll decline for now as he still has something to take care of. She looks defeated, but realizes that it might not be over, and grabs onto something, handing him a pendant, asking if he'll accept. And if by some chance he comes to the outside world and looks for her family to show them this. He says that if it's a gift he will gladly accept it. She then thanks him and hopes they will meet again one day. He says same, and they drive off into the forest. We then get a time skip of years. And finally all conditions have been met. He has completed quest and he may now leave the snowfields. So, it's finally time for him to explore the fantasy world he's been longing for. And he looks really excited.